Hey everyone, and welcome back to our story corner. Today, we're going on a magical adventure to a place filled with imagination, excitement, and some very, very wild things. Are you ready to set sail? Great. Let's begin. Our story starts with a boy named Max. Now, Max is a wonderful kid, full of energy and a love for adventure. He has a brilliant imagination and loves to pretend he's all sorts of things. Sometimes he likes to be a little bit wild. One evening, Max put on his favorite wolf costume, complete with pointy ears and a fluffy tail. He was feeling particularly mischievous and started causing a bit of a ruckus around the house, making all sorts of trouble. His mom, feeling a little frustrated, called him a wild thing and sent him to his room without any supper. Max stomped up the stairs, slammed his door, and sat on his bed feeling grumpy and misunderstood. The room felt small and quiet. But then, as he sat there, something absolutely amazing, something truly magical, began to happen. Suddenly, the walls of Max's room started to feel different. They didn't feel like walls anymore. A tiny green sprout pushed its way up through the floorboards. Then another and another. Before Max could even blink, tall, magnificent trees began to grow, reaching all the way up to the ceiling. Their branches spread out, covered in thick green leaves. Long, twisting vines snaked their way across the floor, curling around the legs of his bed and his desk. The air, which was once still, now carried the fresh, earthy scent of a deep, dark forest. Max's ordinary little room was gone. In its place was a vast, enchanting jungle, bathed in the soft, silvery light of the moon. It was a world born from his own feelings, a forest of his very own. He stood up, no longer grumpy, but filled with a sense of wonder. And just as he was taking it all in, a gentle breeze whispered through the leaves, carrying with it the sound of water. He looked over and saw something even more incredible, a small private boat, with his name painted on the side, bobbing gently on the shore of a new ocean that had appeared right in his room. It was waiting just for him. Max knew exactly what he had to do. Without a moment's hesitation, he climbed into the little boat. It felt sturdy and safe beneath him. He grabbed the sail, and with a gentle push, he was off, gliding away from his room and into the unknown. The adventure had truly begun. He sailed on and on, leaving the night he knew behind. The boat carried him across a vast, twinkling sea, under a sky filled with more stars than he had ever seen. He sailed for days, and weeks, and even for a whole year. Though it felt like no time at all. Time seemed to bend and stretch as he journeyed through day and night, past waking and sleeping, all alone on the great big ocean. He wasn't lonely, though. He was an explorer, the captain of his own destiny, sailing toward an adventure he could only dream of. Finally, after what felt like a lifetime of sailing, he saw it on the horizon. A smudge of green that grew bigger and bigger until it became a strange and wonderful island. He steered his boat toward the sandy shore, and as he stepped out, he knew he had arrived. He was at the place where the wild things are. He hadn't taken more than a few steps into the island's thick jungle when he heard it. A deep, rumbling sound that shook the ground. Then, crashing through the trees, they appeared. They were the wild things. They were huge, much bigger than Max could have imagined. They had mismatched furry bodies, sharp yellow eyes, and long curved horns. Some had big, clumsy feet with gnarly claws, and others had long, swishy tails. They gnashed their terrible teeth, and rolled their terrible eyes, and showed their terrible claws. They roared their loudest, most playful roars, trying to look as scary as they possibly could. They stomped and snorted, filling the air with a wild chorus of growls and grunts. They were monstrous, bizarre, and surprisingly funny-looking. They surrounded him, peering down at this small boy in a wolf suit. But was Max scared? Was he frightened by these giant, loud, peculiar creatures? Not one little bit. He stood his ground, his heart beating with excitement, not fear. Max looked up at the circle of huge, furry faces. He stared right into their big, yellow eyes one by one. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He didn't even flinch. Instead, he did the bravest thing he could think of. He raised his hand, pointed his finger, and in his clearest, most commanding voice, he shouted, "Be still." And the most amazing thing happened. They listened. The wild things stopped their roaring. They stopped their stomping. They stood completely still, blinking their big eyes at Max. They had never seen anyone so brave. They had tried to scare him with their terrible roars and terrible teeth, but he had tamed them with a single magic trick. They were completely in awe of this little boy. They huddled together, whispering in their rumbly voices, and decided that this small but fearless visitor must be the wildest thing of all. And so, they made him their king. They found a beautiful crown made of leaves and twigs and placed it right on top of his head. Max was now the king of all the wild things. With a great cheer, the wild things all shouted, "Let the wild rumpus start." And what a rumpus it was! The moment Max was crowned king, the whole island erupted into the most joyful, chaotic celebration imaginable. The wild things and Max danced under the moonlight, their giant feet thumping on the ground, creating a rhythm for their wild parade. They leaped and twirled, they howled at the moon, and they swung from the vines hanging from the tall jungle trees. Max, their king, led the festivities. He rode on the shoulders of the biggest wild thing, laughing as they charged through the forest. It was loud, it was silly, and it was gloriously, wonderfully wild. There were no rules, no bedtimes, and no one telling them to be quiet. They were free to be as wild as they wanted to be. Max had more fun than he had ever had in his entire life. He had found a place where his wildness was celebrated, a place where he truly belonged. But after all the dancing, all the shouting, and all the wild rumpus, a quiet moment fell over the island. As Max sat on his throne, surrounded by his new, snoozing subjects, he felt a familiar warmth spreading through his chest. It was a feeling he hadn't noticed during the party. He started to think about his little room. He thought about his soft bed and his favorite toys. And then he smelled something wonderful. It was a smell that traveled all the way across the world, right to the island of the wild things. It was the smell of something delicious, something warm and good to eat. It was the smell of home. And with that smell came a gentle ache. He missed his home. He missed the place where someone loved him best of all. He realized that as much fun as it was to be the king of the wild things, it was time to go back. Max stood up and announced to the sleeping creatures that it was time for him to leave. The wild things woke up, their big eyes filled with sadness. "Oh, please don't go," they cried. "We'll eat you up, we love you so." They didn't want their king to leave. They promised him endless rumpuses and fun. But Max's mind was made up. He had to go home. He gave them a final wave, stepped back into his private boat, and pushed off from the shore. The wild things let out one last, sad, terrible roar as he sailed away. Max sailed back across the sea, back through the day and the night, back through the weeks and the year. He sailed until he saw the familiar shape of his very own room. The boat glided gently through the forest, which was now slowly fading away. The trees grew smaller, the vines retreated, and the ocean disappeared. He was back. Max stepped out of his boat and found himself standing in his own bedroom. It was quiet. It was peaceful. The wild adventure was over. And there, sitting on the table beside his bed, he saw it. a supper tray. It was still hot. It was the warm, comforting meal he had smelled from all the way across the world. Someone had brought it for him. Someone who loved him best of all. Max smiled. He was home. He had traveled to the land of the wild things and back. He had been a king, and now he was right where he belonged, in the quiet of his own room, where the wild adventure had first begun. And that's the story of Max and the wild things. It's a wonderful reminder that it's okay to feel big feelings, like being angry or frustrated. And it shows us the incredible power of our imagination to take us on amazing adventures. But most importantly, it's a story about knowing that no matter how far you roam, you always have a place to come back to, a place where you are safe, cared for, and loved. What an incredible journey. Thank you so much for joining me on this adventure today. I hope you loved it as much as I did. If you enjoyed our story, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and tell me about your favorite part in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss our next story time adventure. Until then, keep exploring and keep imagining. See you next time, everyone. Bye.